I tell you what, a crazy 6-7 hours of football today.
Was crazy. Exactly what you want from conference finals, right? I mean,
100%. It was we'll get into it, but put plenty of points in the first round.
yeah.
First round of games today, and then second round went down to the wire, which is what we were speaking about last episode. Is what we really wanted.
I wanted overtime, but
Overtime would have been pretty cool.
I was expecting Josh to be able to go down there, get the field goal.
Yeah.
Not just quite get the touchdown, get the field goal. Oh damn, we've got to go to overtime, and we have the historic epic that we all wanted. But maybe we'll get that in the Super Bowl. But I don't know. I feel like it hasn't been a single really close nail-biting finish throughout this playoffs yet. Now, I could be wrong. Could be one game I'm missing. But, like, you could say maybe the Ravens game, but that wasn't down to the wire. That was 2 minutes left. This one, it was like 3 points in it, but yeah, it wasn't really down to the wire. I can't think of any other games. You had the Rams-Eagles close, but it wasn't... You know what I'm talking about?
Rams went down to like the last drive where they could have tied it.
Yeah. And the Bucks-Commanders, again, that went down late, but it wasn't sort of, a guy had the ball with 20 seconds left trying to score. Look, I'm being a bit particular here,
very wishful.
Very wishful. Bit dramatic, but no, it was still a good game. Both QBs played well, lived up to the hype, and
yeah.
You gonna get into it?
I reckon.
Chiefs-Bills reaction, I mean, it just happened, an hour ago?
Yeah, we're like straight on.
Yep. Ben perks of living in Sydney, that game for us is 10:30 to 1:30, so we've got all afternoon to think about it and dwell on it and record this to get it out to you guys.
I mean...
What's your first thoughts, initial reactions?
Initial reactions was, it was kind of like, I know why I couldn't pick a side. Like, I felt like it was such a offensive, heavy game. Like, both defenses came up clutch in like specific areas and made big impact plays, but I felt like the difference makers were either Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs or Josh Allen for the Bills.
Yep.
Both of them just played absolutely insane and had their Superman moments. And yeah, wow, I was just loving watching Bills Chiefs. I was so happy we got that matchup. It was, before the 0-3 storyline.
0-4.
And now it's 0-4.
Poor Allen.
Yeah, poor Allen. He hasn't been able to get one yet.
He did his best. I mean, he had a chance though. You got to give him like 3 minutes left. Had the ball, field goal to tie, touchdown wins. Yeah, and to be fair, that pass to Kincaid was on the money. He should have caught that. That was a miraculous play. Spags brought such an exotic blitz. You heard the commentators talk about it, that that was the first time all game he cooked something like that up in the big spot. And Allen dealt with it and somehow lobbed it up and got it straight to where Kincaid could catch it, and he just dropped it. I mean, if he catches that,
he was on his back foot. It was like leaning... all momentum going backwards.
It looked like just a heave, right? Just trying to get rid of it. But
yet
it went straight to exactly where you'd want it. I mean, he's got to catch that. And
it's going to go down
as a miss. You make that's like, the crowd is stunned. The Bills sidelines going bananas. Allen's like, oh my, what can't this guy do? They're probably already in field goal range. They would have been on the line. So you're nearly guaranteed, as long as you don't take a sack. I think that was on the
30. It would have been on the 30.
So you're basically guaranteed a field goal to tie it up if you don't take a sack. You're marching down, a chance to win. The Chiefs are sitting there going, oh my goodness, is Mahomes going to not touch his ball again and we're going to lose? And that's why football is a game where tears your heart out, because for Allen, what more can you do?
I know.
I mean, you could argue don't get down to a fourth down situation there. But at the end of the day, he made the play and his receiver just couldn't catch it. It's not like tennis where if you play great, you're going to win. You can play great and still not win because of the way other people play.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but going back to the start, for this game for me, Chiefs started off very hot on offense. I mean, the first half, they were unstoppable. The only thing that stopped them was Mahomes, the fumbles, really. Yeah. He was lucky. He fumbled earlier in that second or third drive. Can't remember which one it was. Recovered it, or he got the penalty, the offside penalty. It was a penalty,
yeah, that's right.
Was it offside? Was it not? I mean, it was close. Either way, you got to suck it up. And then I thought, wow, that's game changer. Chiefs are going to go down, score, and then they'll take the win right out of the Bills' sails. But no, fumbles later on the handoff. Bills get the ball back and then go down and score. And then it's like, wow, that's game on. Yeah. And then another swing was later on when Bills, I think, had the ball with 3 minutes left or 4 minutes left. And they had a 3-and-out and turned the ball over. And then Chiefs went down and scored the touchdown. And knowing that Chiefs got the ball back to start the second half. But again, Bills responded and got the score before the half.
That was massive.
Yeah, Bills just kept finding answers. Just when you thought the Chiefs would extend it that bit too far to make the game out of reach, the Bills would just hang in there and make the plays. Allen with these over-the-top throws just kept getting it done, keeping the Bills alive. and kept them in it late. And the second half was back and forth. I think both teams sort of had their moments.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was just the Chiefs' defense came up big with getting Allen to that fourth down situation and Kincaid having the drop.
Yeah.
And the game still wasn't over. I mean, Mahomes still had to get a first down. They ended up getting 2 first downs to seal the deal. The run games, I thought for both teams, actually, the run games were pretty good. I thought, for me, though, I think, speaking of the run game, the biggest key to victory for the Chiefs was the Mahomes running game.
The scramble out to the right or the left.
The scramble to the right was, he got 2 touchdowns, running touchdowns. Whenever they needed a first down, roll out to the right. I mean, in big games, I was on the Mahomes running over. In big games, Mahomes uses his legs more efficiently than any other QB I've ever seen. Whenever he runs, he gets it. Like, you very rarely see him go for a run and it's the wrong play. When he goes for a run, you can tell it, one, it hurts the defense, and 2, it's always just so effective. He's an absolute killer at that. And then you even heard, what's the commentator? Tony Romo on the commentary before the play said, watch out, he's going to roll to the right. What does he do? Roll to the right, get a TD.
Romo's pretty good at those. I love listening to Romo during those calls.
But yeah, I thought Mahomes is running. I mean, I think he outperformed Allen with the running. Allen didn't do many rushes until, I think he had a few in the last few drives where he got his legs moving a little bit. But I thought they would have way more rushes for Allen.
Yeah.
But no, it was Mahomes doing the running, and I thought Pacheco and Hunt had a great 1-2 partnership. They were running up the middle. Cook played well. He got 60 yards, I think, rushing, 40 or so receiving. So he played well. So I thought both offenses had a good round game, very similar. It's just Chiefs just were able to get the clutch plays down the end.
Yeah. It was, at the start of the game, I was pretty worried for Allen because he started off so shaky. There could have been 2 interceptions in that first drive.
He looked real energetic, like too energetic early, like nerves.
Yeah, so he was throwing it and heaving it. Dropped the snap on that first drive as well. So it wasn't looking good for him. But as the game went on, he just seemed to calm down a little bit more. Confidence grew. Made some key plays. His receivers, who's Hollins, he had 2 massive...
Yeah. That one grab in the end zone was huge.
Yeah, grabs there to get them in good position, and still on the back of the Chiefs. They were chasing them, but went ahead at halftime, right? Did they go ahead at halftime?
I don't know if they were ahead or not. Were they ahead? It was close. I can't remember.
It was close, but they did so well just to stay with them, making those clutch plays. I was just loving watching it. It was just such a good game.
So Chiefs were up 21-16 at the half, and then Bills got the 6 to start the third quarter. They started the third quarter. So they got the Kansas City to have to punt.
Yeah.
And then Bills, but that was the thing as well. Bills couldn't get those two-point conversions. And they tried twice. They couldn't get the 2-point conversions, which, you look at the score, that would have changed things.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times as well that Allen, they tried the tush push at 4th and 1, and he didn't get it.
The QB draws, there was
a few of those short range runs that Allen's usually automatic. I think they said the stat earlier in the year was, I think 30 out of 32 or something on the tush push or the 4th and 1s.
Well, the Ravens stopped it the week prior on the goal line there, remember?
That's right. Yeah, so the Chiefs, to their credit, they stopped it on the 2-point conversion. They stopped on that big 4th down that got the turnover in the 4th quarter. Allen became a little predictable, I think, with that. You saw Romo on the commentary, he said that the Chiefs knew that Allen, when he goes for these QB draw, he typically likes to go to the left. And you could tell the Chiefs were ready for that. So they stacked the box to their right and were able to block him. I mean, a couple of those plays, if they get those, obviously all hindsight, but it could be a completely different game. So again, the Chiefs defense just made some big time clutch plays. I mean, Spags, as we say, I think he's probably one of the best, if not the best defensive coordinator in the game.
Just talks about the experience that they have in these situations. Like, it was just top notch. Like, the way they started offensively with the run pass options and stuff like that.
So well coached.
They either handing it off to Pacheco or Hunt. They were doing really well.
Bills had no answer.
Or he pulls it and he has the quick slant. Like, Juju had some good good plays today.
Oh, most of the receivers, apart from Hopkins, he only had 1 reception. But every other receiver, I mean, Kelsey as well only had like 3 receptions, 2 or 3. But all the other guys,
they kept him to under 20 yards. This game, right?
So you'd expect Hopkins and Kelsey, your 2 big weapons. They're the ones who kept the most quiet. But all the other guys, Worthy and Hunt and all these guys, they were getting involved. And as you said, Juju, and it just shows Reed. You can never, whenever you think he's going to do something in a big game, he just does the opposite. Like, he knows what you think they're going to do, and he pivots and just counters it. I think the Chiefs coaching staff, having Reed on offense, you've got Nagy as well there on offense, who's been there, done it as a head coach, and Spags on defense. It's just such a well-run team. You've got a great front office of the Chiefs. You got Mahomes as your leader. You can just tell the way he started that game. You said Allen had the nerves. You didn't see that in Mahomes. He's just laser focused, locked in, wants to win. And when he made that mistake on the fumble, I loved when Mahomes just runs straight off with that angry look in his face, like down. You can just tell he just wants to get right back out there and get it back.
Yeah.
There are some QBs you sit there to see them pouting and like pulling their things off their helmet, just looking real angry on the sidelines. Mahomes, you can just tell it's like, get me back. I want to get this one back right now.
Give me the ball next.
Get me the ball. I'm going to make up for it. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
he just has that killer instinct. He has that mentality you can't teach. And you surround him with the Andy Reids. Like, I think if you had Mahomes with a bit more of an emotional coach, I actually don't think it would work as well. And Mahomes would still be Mahomes. But I don't think he would be as good in these close games as he is with Reid. Because I think Reid is like the perfect counterbalance to Mahomes. The way they act and the way
like the calm
calm, just always knowing what to do. I just think they mesh so well. They're the perfect tandem. I mean, the records are starting to show for that with what they're doing in the playoffs.
Yeah,
6-7 straight conference finals. The amount of Super Bowls he's got into in his short career. I don't know the stats off the top of my head. I'm sure in the next 2 weeks we're going to hear
all these stats all about it.
Yeah. And I mean, credit to them. They just keep winning. They keep winning. That's like 16 or something in a row of these one-score games.
Yeah.
They're so difficult to beat, and for those reasons. So, big picture for the Chiefs to another Super Bowl, going for the three-peat. Big picture for the Bills. I mean, you just got to ask if this is their ceiling. 0-4, Allen against Mahomes. What's going to change?
Are you playing your best football in the wrong era?
Literally. I mean, you hear that with the Jordan era, right? The players that just couldn't get the rings when I forgot them. Again, I'm not caught up in my 90s basketball knowledge, but they're certain players that just could not get the rings, who just played in the wrong era. Yeah. Same right now with Allen. Lamar is in that boat.
Yeah.
Burrow might be in that boat. These QBs, if they play in a different era, they could already have 2-3 Super Bowls themselves. But unfortunately, they're just playing, I said, not just with Mahomes, but they're playing with just a team that has so well run, like the whole franchise. Like, what I mean? Like NFL, when people watch the NFL for the first time who aren't used to watching it, the one thing that takes their breath away is the scale of it. How many people are on the sideline? How many players are involved? Well, they have 50-something players on a sideline? Like, what?
Yeah.
When you come, especially for out here in Australia, where you're used to 17 players, that's like your whole team and your reserves. That's it. And you have your 4 or 5 coaches. Then you go watch an NFL, there's 100 people on one sideline, 100 people on the other sideline. The point is that NFL franchises, more than any other sports in the world, I would say, needs to have everything buttoned down from the top to the bottom organizationally, from your ownership to your front office, to your coaching staff, to your players, to your support workers. Everyone needs to be on the same page because it's such a big organization. It's like a massive run business. And the teams that do it well, the Eagles and the Chiefs, I don't think it's a surprise that those two are always around the top, consistently fighting for Super Bowls and championships.
Yeah.
It's because it's not just the team, the players, the coaches, or the front office. It's all the way from the ownership down. You think of the teams that have poor ownerships, the Bears, the Jets, the Commanders, before they switched to ownership. Again, think of what happened to the Commanders. Change owners, get a new front office, new coach. Now their whole franchise looked like a turnaround. You think they'd be in this boat if they kept their previous
championship
owner?
matchup,
No chance, right? So credit to the Chiefs' entire organization. Obviously, Mahomes will get most of the accolades, and rightfully so, because he's the face, and he's the one having to go out there and make the passes, make the runs and all that.
Yeah.
But, I don't think you can really... I think we've got to appreciate the era we're living in, because this will be just like people talk back about the Patriots in that sort of the noughties.
It's the big four right now.
We'll be 10, 20 years from now, we're looking back just talking about the Chiefs and the Chiefs' dominance, and how I think the narrative will be, when we're old and grey, will be, man, you put Mahomes in a one-score game, he's going to win it. I just think that's going to be what people remember, is he just wins every big game, every close game. He just finds a way to win.
Takes nothing away from the teams that they're versing, though. Like, I feel when you're going to be talking about the Chiefs in this era, you're going to be talking about the Allen and the Bills, those matchups. Like, it's not just about the Chiefs and obviously what they've done, but just the storylines and the matchups with all their AFC opponents. It's just something that's so good to watch right now. Obviously, people that don't like the Chiefs aren't having a good time.
I think most people even don't like them, though, respect what they're doing. I think a lot of people don't like them, as we said last week, that a team that keeps winning, or anyone that keeps winning.
I think it's like a hidden respect.
Yeah, like definitely. There'll be some people that just absolutely hate their guts and think the refs give them all the calls.
That's just sports fans in general.
That's sports fans. And look, at the end of the day, you earn a little bit of grace when you're the undisputed champion. Like, if you watch boxing or the UFC or something, the champ, if you go to the judge's scorecard against the champ, you typically have to be pretty dominant to beat the champ in a judge's decision. I mean, some might say that's unfair, but I think that's just the way sport is. In order to beat the king, you got to knock him out. You know what I mean? I don't think we want the Chiefs and these, John Jones or someone losing to a really razor-thin decision. Gustafson Jones comes to mind. Some people get upset at that, and they still say, the other guy, the challenger won. But I think at the end of the day, the champion has got there, and if he can stay at the top, he deserves a little bit of that grace. And I think Mahomes and the Chiefs are in that boat. Everyone, whether you love him or hate him, you're going to watch the Chiefs. And I'd love to see the viewership on this. And as you said, I think there's a quiet respect, even if you deep down want them to lose and you're just rooting for them to lose. Fuck, man. It's like, I think of the Breaking Bad Jesse meme. They just can't keep getting away with this. It's literally what I think about the Chiefs and how people must feel about them. Yeah. I mean, I was on Allen today. I picked the Bills. I don't feel bad about picking them. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone who picked Mahomes will be like, hey, told you so. You don't bet against Mahomes in the playoffs. Yeah. And look, to be fair, you guys...
It would have been the other way if Allen won. You don't bet against Allen.
I know, but you guys were right. I mean, Chiefs, Mahomes in the playoffs, you just... I mean, look, if you bet it on Mahomes, you're up so much.
We do have to bring up, because I thought a massive sort of downfall for the Bills was losing their cornerback, that Benford guy, to concussion, because the way the Chiefs attacked the guy that replaced him, it was just like second to none. They adapted to that game plan so well. We spoke about those RPOs, but then they just attacked him. He was giving off like an extra 5 yards to the receivers, and they would beat him, catch the ball and beat him off the, off the spin, off the line and stuff like that. So they just, they adapted to the situation so well, and made the big plays count. And
you don't want to give Reed an opening like that, because he just takes it straight away. Like some coaches might take it, might have to get to half time to sort of, we take advantage of this. No, he's like, next drive. Well, they lose their corner. Okay, let's go after that. I mean, it's similar. You saw the same thing in the game the week before with the Lions, where they lost their corner in the first. I mean, high level corners are irreplaceable. They are so important in these big games, especially because it allows you to play man. It allows you just to set them on an island, take care of their wide receiver. Just don't worry about it. All of a sudden, you lose that high-level guy. As soon as you go to that next tier, it's like unlike nearly any other position, maybe an offensive tackle or something. Once you go from that top tier, even down to the second tier of player, it changes everything, because you can no longer just put him on an island and say, hey, you take care of him, you take care of this area. Then you got to suddenly have zone, you got to bring your safety to come over and cover. Changes your whole defensive
scheme. When you got Pat throwing against zone, all he's doing is picking the pocket.
Easy, right? He just knows what he's doing. And you got Reed and Pat just having the master game plan to beat that. It's just, that's why the Eagles, we'll get into them in a sec, but their corners and safeties are just so good. The Chiefs' corners and safeties, so good. It's just, that's how you win. And that's why I think the number one prospect right now in the whole of college football is the Ohio State cornerback, Caleb Downs. Why? Because front officers in general, even though a lot of the fans don't really appreciate them yet, I think cornerbacks are slowly but surely going to become one of the most sought after positions. The last 5 or 6 years sort of been defensive end. They've got to get a good defensive end. The Micah Parsons, the Myles Garrett. These sort of guys, Nick Bosa, they've been the premier defensive players. I think it's going to start switching more to corners, and then that's going to allow you to rush 4 or 5 with a good front line rather than having the Micah Parsons and then a bunch of mediocre players. You get a solid defensive line with star corners. I think that's going to be the game plan. I mean, it helps when you're the Eagles and you also have Jalen Carter up front, right? Or Chris Jones up front, so you have the star player as well. But hey, credit to the Chiefs.
Credit.
They make another Super Bowl and
going for the three-peat.
It's going to be a great game.
Oh, yeah.
It is good seeing them in the Super Bowl again, because, it's just going to be so much fanfare. Oh, yeah. Look, I would love to see the Bills, see Allen get a chance, but it seems like a sense of just an extra storyline narrative now, right, with the three-peat.
Yeah.
Let them do their thing. So should we get on to the other side?
Let's do it. Let's get on to the other one. The early game for us.
Yeah, Eagles v Commanders.
I mean, wow.
No one really would have predicted this game to start the year, but here we are. Yeah,
it ended up being a blowout towards the end, and probably makes sense after you saw the first play from an Eagles side, the Barkley run.
Yeah.
Score on the first play of the drive, and I mean, this Eagles side is just stacked.
Players everywhere.
Absolutely insane. You had Barkley, he was doing whatever he wanted on the ground, and they kind of stopped going to him for a little bit, and it was more focused on the passing, and that was still fine. AJ Brown had his plays. Devontae Smith had that catch on the sideline, which was borderline, could have been out. It was like right on the line there, but they got the play off before any challenge flag was called. And Goddard, the tight end, he had an absolute game. I had his over. He got that within like middle of the second quarter, I think.
Yeah, everyone was worried about Hurts and his injury. He put that to
bed. But still, he wasn't scrambling really early. So you thought, okay, he's just sitting there making his passes, making his reads, And then I think it was after halftime. That's when Hurts just he broke off for a run. I think he got called back because of a flag, but then he got another 15-yard scramble a couple plays
Maybe
after.
They gave him those good drugs at halftime and just numbed that shit out of their leg.
Can you imagine? Jeez, imagine being on those.
Oh yeah, I mean I thought the game started off real well for the Commanders. That 16-yard play drive to start the game.
Yeah, it went for 7 or 8 minutes or something.
I mean, that's exact as we said. That's how the Commanders are going to win. Go for it on fourth down.
Win the time of possession.
Win the time of possession. Frustrate the Eagles. I mean, if you're the Eagles, you're sitting there. You're at home. Got all this energy and adrenaline, and you're sitting on the sidelines for 8 minutes watching this Commanders team just slowly but surely work their way up, convert a fourth down, convert another fourth down.
That's what they were doing. 3 from third down, I think, on that in the first half. They were just clinical on those late downs, which is exactly what we spoke about.
And that's how they beat the Bucks and how they beat the Lions.
It's exactly.
Control the ball, but the difference was they couldn't. The Eagles' defense was able to stop the touchdowns in the red zone. Made them get a field goal, get 3 points on that first instead of the touchdown. Week before against Detroit, that's a touchdown, right? So that's sort of the difference in the defensive levels. Yeah. But then, as you said, Barkley got involved, got that run, just completely energized the crowd and just wiped away all the momentum that the Commanders had gained from their long drive. And then, look, the Eagles just they have talent in every single key area. Defensive line, Jalen Carter and the rest of their defensive line, one of the best defensive lines. Yeah. The offensive line is probably the best offensive line in the league. The wide receiver room, AJ Brown, Smith. Incredible. Yeah. Hurts, yes, he's playing a bit injured, and some people think he's limited, but he has so many different assets and so many different weapons that even if you don't think he's an elite QB, he can still make the throws when he needs to. Mm-hmm. He makes the right reads when he needs to in terms of running or throwing. He can get the... he's mobile enough to get the first downs when he needs to get them. He can get touchdowns, get the push. Plus, you have obviously Saquon, probably the best running back in the league right now. Yeah. Corners... elite, maybe some of the best in the league.
Insane. I mean, Zach Bourne and all that.
Tell me, tight ends, high level, where are they weak? I mean, it's an incredible roster, by far the best roster in the league. I would say the Niners had a similar roster the last few years, but I would say that Hurts is probably maybe a bit more of a complete quarterback, maybe a hot take. I don't know. Some people, whether you like Purdy or not, but I think this Eagles team this year is by far and wide the best roster, better than the Chiefs roster, but Chiefs clearly have the edge. Coach and quarterback. Yeah. So that gives them, does that override all the talent elsewhere? Because Chiefs obviously have a good defense as well. So, we'll get more into that with the preview. But for the Eagles themselves, I just think adding Barkley and getting more out of that offensive line. Because we already knew last year, they lost Kelsey, but they still have the most elite offensive line in the game. So you need to lean on them as much as you can. How do you do that? By getting one of the best running backs in the game. So you have Hurts who can run. You have a running back who's one of the best in the league. Behind that offensive line, you're winning. Plus, hey, let's just add on to that 2 of the best wide receivers. Smith could be a number 1 wide receiver for many NFL teams out there. So, it was I think just what's the Eagles been doing this year is just they start off games kind of slow, sort of build in, but by the time the game's over, that second half, they just overpower. They just got too many weapons. And you got to give the coaching staff credit. They seem to adapt well. A lot of people don't like Sirianni. They don't think he's a good with clock management and sort of making adaptations. He's too emotional and all this sort of stuff, but he's clearly surrounded himself with high-level people who are able to adapt offensively and defensively, and they're a good second-half team. And that's, at the end of the day, most matches are won in the second half.
100%.
Yeah.
And it came down to really the turnovers.
Yeah.
Fumbles by the Commanders. It's been a trend. It's been a trend all these past couple of weeks for the playoffs, except for Chiefs and Bills. I think, didn't Chiefs have more turnovers in that game?
They had the one fumble. Was that the only turnover? No interceptions.
No interceptions.
They had that one fumble. Yeah, I think it was the one fumble.
So I think Chiefs were the only team probably this whole playoffs to win the game and have a higher turnover rate.
By one though, you know what I mean? It's not. There's a difference with the Commanders having 3 fumbles. You ain't winning a game with that. Especially as we just spoke about with the talent differential. You as the Commanders, you have to play a clean game like they did against the Lions. Yeah. You fumble the ball 3 times. It doesn't matter how well you play. It's gone. You can't do it. And as you said, the entire playoffs, it's been that story. You turn the ball over more than twice. Effectively, that's it. Yeah. So that's why the playoffs are so good to watch and so tricky to play, because you got to have that fine line between making plays and sort of putting yourself out there. But if it goes wrong and you make that fine line where you make a mistake and you fumble the ball, you get an interception, or you just do the Lamar and you try to make a play when it's not there, game's over. Your season's done. Yeah. And as you said, the Commanders today, they were the latest victim of the turnover loss.
Unfortunately, and it was really just the receivers and running backs that made those crucial fumbles. Jaden still had a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was clean. He had that one late intercept as well, but I think that's
late intercept. He's playing from behind and trying to do something late.
You want him to.
So I wouldn't hinder that on his performance or anything like that. I thought he still played a pretty decent game. Just didn't have the same completion rate that he usually has.
I think that's to the Eagles.
But that's just to the, as we said, the Eagles secondary. Like, they were on this game. And then, offensively, Barkley was still kept to 110, 115 yards.
Yeah.
Where most of their yards came from Goddard. I think he had like 90, AJ Brown. So, I mean, this game, the Eagles just piled it on. Saquon had 3 TDs. Hurts had 3. He ran it 2.
He had 3. 2 or 3. Actually, no, maybe he did have 3. I don't know, because he had like 7 TDs
they got
total.
7 TDs, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like 7 TDs to...
AJ had 1.
What they have? Yeah,
Saquon
AJ had 1.
3.
Yeah.
So maybe Hurts did have 3.
Had
but
to,
anyway,
and so I think this was the biggest score in a conference championship game since that merger for NFL. So
wow.
55 points.
Impressive. I mean, as we said, we said this in our preview, that the Commanders' defense was ranked like 17th, and that was the outlier in the 4 teams remaining. The Eagles, Chiefs, and Bills all have high-level defenses. I mean, the Bills is a little bit weaker, I'd say, than the Chiefs and the Eagles, but still well coached and well done. I just don't think they had the personnel of the Chiefs and the Eagles, but it still was far better than the Commanders. The Commanders' Achilles heel is always going to be their defense, and I mean, to beat the Lions, they had to score nearly 50 points against the Bucks. It was still a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
The challenge was could you match it with the Eagles and their defense? And the answer was just no. They just too much pressure.
What we were saying, like, we thought we read this so well because whatever the weaknesses were the Commanders were the strengths for the Eagles.
And the weaknesses of the Commanders.
And the weaknesses for the Eagles.
It was a bad matchup for the Commanders.
Yeah. And so they end up winning by... What was it? Yeah, 20-something.
I mean, this game
booking their spot.
This game essentially went exactly how the data and the analytics said it should go. Yeah. Is that one team is the better defense, better run, is the best running team in the league against one of the worst rushing defenses in the league.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it unfolded. One team just couldn't stop the run, and one's defense just couldn't get any stops when they needed to. So, Eagles, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Last year was like, they call it the supernatural funk. They started off, 11-1 or 10-1 or something like that, and somehow collapse and lose in the first round. I would love to be fly on the wall for that last year and what happened. Yeah. Because if they don't have that collapse, they're challenging for 3 Super Bowls in a row, really. Like, it's an astounding...
Massive turnaround.
It's astounding how that 3 years have happened. Maybe that Super Bowl, sort of loss is a real thing. I mean, you saw it this year with the Niners. Yeah. Like, losing a Super Bowl in the NFL, I think, is probably... leads to the biggest downfall in any other sport. Like, you lose an NBA championship, it's not as bad as losing at a Super Bowl, because the amount of weeks, the amount of time, energy and effort it takes to get back to a Super Bowl, I think is just so draining. And you saw it on the Eagles, even when you start out that well last year, something obviously in the building just went awry and it just collapsed. But they credit to Sirianni. A lot of people want to get on his ass, but you've got to give him props where it's due that he got that team back. I mean, remember at the start of the year, everyone talking about, if they get on a losing streak, he's going to be gone. You lose this game at home to the Cowboys, you're going to be gone. Like, all these...
Yeah.
Eagles fans are waiting for him to be sacked at any chance. Remember, when he was talking to the fans on the sideline?
That was the first game? Or second game, wasn't it? First game at home.
That's right. I mean, so everyone was on his ass. Eagles fans, commentators, just watchers alike. And here he is. He's turned that team that had a collapse last year back to the Super Bowl, looking dominant. They had the problem with the AJ Brown and the guy coming out and saying that Brown and Hurts aren't friends. Dealt with all that. They've had other issues throughout the year with Hurts and Sirianni apparently weren't friends and weren't talking. So I had to deal with a lot, and I think that comes with being in Philly and dealing with the media. Yeah. But they've risen to the occasion. They've obviously come together, and here they are in their second Super Bowl in 3 years. And I don't know the odds. Should probably look right now. But with the way they played, I have a feeling this game will be real tight.
I feel like they could be favourite, right?
Let's have a look. No, they're not. Chiefs $1.76, Eagles $2.13. Handicap right now is 2.5.
Eagles are dollars. What? Sorry.
Eagles are $2.13. Chiefs are $1.76. Wow. So Chiefs are 2.5 point favourites right now. I think that'll switch. Wow. I think by kickoff, I reckon that'll be down to 1.5 or half a point.
I would even say could be close to a pick 'em, right?
Yeah, I reckon it should be. I mean, the Eagles showed today. I mean, again, different quality competition. I think we can say the Bills are better than the Commanders. But as we said, the Eagles have so many weapons. They're going to be such a tough out. Chiefs, though, are back their coaching more. I think they'll give Spags 2 weeks to come up with a plan to stop Barkley. You give Reed 2 weeks to come up with a plan to beat that defense. That's sort of like early thoughts. That's where I'm leaning. Yeah. But my point is that the Eagles have an excellent shot of winning 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Now, everyone's giving the Chiefs credit. They've won 2 Super Bowls. If they lose this, they've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. Right? So this right now, the Eagles, if they
brings
win...
them up to that tier.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Chiefs won, what 2 years before that, right? So they're 3 and... they've won 3 and 4.
And they haven't bowed out in a divisional game.
They're
first round.
Obviously, different levels still. But my point is, if you just take those last 3 years, I mean, that's as an Eagles fan, I mean, that's incredible.
100%. So, no, credit to Sirianni, but this year as well, they got Saquon, and Saquon's just.
Let's say a prayer for the Giants front office. Shall
we? Man,
how they have a job? Seriously, what is going on?
Unbelievable. He's put up one of the best running back performance seasons that we've seen in a long time, probably since AP. We've already spoke about this, but he's not going to get the MVP award this year, but very highly likely he gets the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Look, for me, running backs, I think it's a bit, I don't want to say easier, but I think it can be simpler to have a great regular season as a running back. You have 17 games nowadays. There's some of the games that you versus defenses just can't stop the run. You break away, get a 200-yard game or something like that. But to do what he's done, for Saquon to do what he's done in the playoffs, in these 3 games, have 100-plus yards every game, be dominant, have the teams coming in knowing that that's going to be the game plan, and yet it just doesn't matter. He's getting multiple TDs. He's having long runs. Yeah. Like that first run, that was him. That was him breaking tackles.
Was it 60-plus yards again?
Yeah, and he broke those 2 tackles on the sideline. Right, he
just bounces off defenders.
To do what he's doing in the playoffs, as I said, I personally can't remember anyone doing this. Obviously, I remember the AP year, but we were very young then. And we weren't really into the NFL then. We weren't watching the X's and O's. For me, this is the first time I've seen a running back do what he's done in the playoffs. For me, my last 5-6 years of really watching the NFL, it's always been the QBs in the playoffs, making the big throws, making the runs. They've been the difference makers. For Saquon to be the leading force, the bus driver of their offense as a running back is something that I haven't seen. And total credit to him, but also, of course, to the offensive line. Because the Eagles, you don't want to take anything away from Saquon, but at the end of the day,
that's how he gets the holes.
Essentially, Saquon was still playing last year. Just the difference between playing for the Giants and playing for the Eagles is night and day, because you've got so many other things you've got to worry about on the Eagles, the passing game, plus you've got that offensive line blocking for you. They're obviously well drilled. They know what they're doing. They're experienced. Yeah. It's been incredible to watch, and I mean, I'm sure his over-under for the Super Bowl will probably be 100-plus as well.
I think it will be towards the 120 mark like we saw today.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, a backs bags, I just stop the run. I reckon Hurst is going to have to win it for him. I mean, look, don't want to spend too much time previewing the Super Bowl. We've got 2 weeks to do that.
Yeah, that'll be next week.
May as well just enjoy the conference final games, but I mean, that's a bit of a mouth-watering matchup, I got to say. I think it's better. Obviously, the Commanders would have been a fairy tale story, but can you imagine what the odds would have been if Commanders would have won? I mean, Chiefs probably would have been 6.5, 7.5 points. I said it's 2.5 just because I think everyone just watched the Chiefs beat the Bills, and everyone right now is stuck in the, oh my God, Mahomes and Chiefs just never lose type thinking right now. So will they ever get beat? So I think that's sort of setting the line right now. I reckon the books are trying to expect a lot of public money to come in on the Chiefs. Yeah, I think a lot of professional money, I feel, will come in on the Eagles throughout the week, and it'll get closer. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the pros have just been, because I think a few of the pros are on the Bills this week, so maybe they're just like, stuff that, we're going back Chiefs only, you know what I mean? Because they said Chiefs under a field goal, typically
don't want to lose any money on it.
Mahomes under a field goal in the playoffs, you just take it basically. So maybe that's what you do. But yeah, this Super Bowl has all the hallmarks of being a down to the wire great game.
100%. It's still, like, both teams coming in with experience in playoff contention and stuff like that. So as we said, from the coaching side, you got Spags setting up a defense to try and stop Barkley, and Eagles, you're really trying to see if, how your defense fares up against probably one of the best quarterbacks, because I don't think they've probably seen this sort of talent, really, because all the top 4 quarterbacks are in the AFC. Yeah.
What do you think? What quarterbacks have the Eagles faced? Who they play in the first round of the playoffs?
So the first round they had...
What'd they come? The second seed?
They came second.
They would have versed the bottom seed. Jeez.
Man.
Here we go.
How am I losing
Test that memory. It's only been,
Let's go backwards. So Rams.
Yep. Beat the Rams. So Stafford.
Commanders, obviously, today.
Stafford's considered one of the best QBs in the NFC.
He's up there.
Who was the bottom seed? Who were the wild cards?
Before.
So you obviously had the 2 wild cards from... was it Green Bay?
Did they verse Green Bay? Yeah, they verse Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Yep.
So Love was a bit... I mean, he did have a great year, Love. But I mean, to be fair, Love, Stafford, and Daniels, I think a lot of people would say they're the top 3 QBs in the NFC.
You could argue that.
They're definitely in the conversation.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's,
but when you compare that to the top three in the
that
AFC,
also speaks to the lack of quality in the NFC in terms of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like I heard Colin Coward today, he says that Jaden Daniels is the Mahomes of the NFC. Like that's how he's referring to him from now. The point being is the AFC has Mahomes. Like it's not like Mahomes is this 20-year-old
they're coming up
player.
against Mahomes.
He is Mahomes, right? Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, all four of them would be the best quarterback in the NFC, I think, by a country mile.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a different challenge. But look, the Eagles defense, I don't think there's a team I'd take to be able to challenge the Chiefs more than I would the Eagles defense right now.
100%. I think they're really going to take this conference championship game definitely into the film study. They're going to see how they contained Kelsey and how to stop that run.
Yeah, Mahomes roll out. Yeah.
But Pacheco's been a little bit quiet this postseason, but Hunt's been able to get going a little bit. So if they can continue to sort of quieten down that rush and sort of force Mahomes to go in the air, who knows? They might be the ones that be able to sort of break this non-interception streak.
I'll tell you what, right now the total match for the points for the Super Bowl is 49.5. I like the under in that at the moment. As we're talking about the defenses, so. I really like the under in that at the moment. It's obviously early days, but again, I think I can see that one coming down a bit.
Did the over hit in Chiefs Bills Day? What was it? 47?
Yeah,
47 and a half?
Yeah. What was the final score? That would have been over.
32-29, right? 32-29.
It was a 3-point game, wasn't it? 29-26.
Was it 29-26?
I mean, you really show 32-29. So you're definitely over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know the stats of like previously in the Super Bowls, like how often the over-unders have hit. But yeah, at the moment I'd be leaning under.
It would be under, right? Really, it would be under. I'd feel like the trend would be.
You'd assume.
Just going off my head.
Yeah. But you also got to give credit to the fact that the Rams, last week the Rams had possession down 6 with the chance to win that game with the last, 2 and a bit minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what I said. The Rams, they're going to be a problem next year. They hung around, and we saw this week how good Philly really is. And the Rams defense was able to contain Philly pretty well. And the Rams, even though they had a poor first half, they were able to, when it mattered late, they were able to sort of put it together and almost steal that game. So definitely something to look for next year, I think, with the Rams getting an extra year under their belt and that defense getting better and better. And so anything else you want to add on that game? Or
Nah, I think I'm just so excited. 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away to the big
an
dance.
Absolute.
Should be a great game.
It's going to be an
two big fan bases, like Eagles, Philly, a huge fan base. Chiefs, obviously, national fan base. One team going for the three-peat. It's just going to be the media, everything about it's just going to be massive. And the thing is, they're both competitive, so it's going to be the actual game itself is going to be hyped up too, not just the things around it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Kelsey v. Kelsey.
Poor Jason Kelsey. He's going to be, why did I retire? Just one more year.
Yeah.
One more year.
Oh, yeah.
Surely he just comes out of retirement for this one. I heard a report that Senna's injured. Was it like maybe not going to play this week? And everyone was saying, get Kelsey back in there.
Well, the others, Senna, they're both a bit banged up, right? I was going to say, I think both teams sort of escaped injury, but no, the center spot for Eagles might be.
The problem is when you're an offensive lineman, it's not like a wide receiver. Like he would have dropped so much weight from when he stopped playing because the amount of eating and training and all that. The amount of muscle mass and just weight in general, he would have lost.
Yeah.
He'd get swallowed up probably. I mean, he'd still be good, but compared to him at his prime, as soon as you stop, you just start, eating a bit worse. You start going on TV and all this sort of stuff and trying to fit into suits. You're no longer trying to be the big dog in the yard. It's just not like, you see wide receivers come back from like a couple years and play. I think they keep their speed. They keep the majority of their skills. But I think for those offensive linemen who are mostly size, you just... not something you keep when you're not playing. Yeah. But that'd be a great fairy tale, wouldn't it? See Kelsey come back. Kelsey v. Kelsey to win.
That'd be insane. What next? What happened?
Tennis.
Australian Open.
Australian Open final.
Yeah, we had two finals over the weekend. So we had the upset with Madison Keys
beating Sabalenka.
Taking out Sabalenka.
Going for 3 in a row. I think Sabalenka only lost one set in the last 30-something games at the Australian Open.
Felt like it, yeah.
She'd been so dominant. And then that first set, you could tell Keys just came out with the perfect mindset. She was just going for everything. She wasn't backing down. She went up to the moment, and everything was just paying off. It's one thing to go for it and to just swing hard and just leave it all out there. It just has to work, and it worked. Everything was paying off. All the big shots were hitting, and Sabalenka was just getting frustrated. She's like, "What's going on?"
She said it after the match, like, "I want to go out there and play my game because." What's the worst thing being tennis 1v1 and you feel like you didn't leave it all out there, and you went out there with a plan and you couldn't execute.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably got to be one of the worst feelings
Especially
in such a solo sport like that.
She hasn't been in a final for 10 years or something was? I think they said after the game, it's been a long time since she's been in a final.
Really?
So when it's been that long between drinks, I think you want to make sure that you make the most of this opportunity. Like, you know how hard it is to get here.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you make the most of it. And I think, as you said, that was her mindset, that I'm going to go out and make sure I leave everything out there. And when the game's over, I'm not going to feel like I didn't do my best. And I said, to her credit, it absolutely worked. She was laser focused, locked in for that first
broke
set.
her early.
And just kept the foot on the gas, never let up. And Sabalenka was getting frustrated. You could tell she was looking at her box. She was giving these weird smiles after points because you could tell she was just like, what is going on? Like, how is she playing like this? Because they obviously would have played. These two would have played a lot against each other.
Yeah.
Across the tournament. And so Sabalenka, from her point of view, knows typically how the game goes against her. I don't know the records, but I'm guessing Sabalenka probably has a positive record against Keys, especially on hard courts. So all of a sudden, this first set, Sabalenka is the huge favourite. I think Keys was $3 something. Sabalenka is coming out and getting hit around the court by Keys. She's like, what the heck's going on here? So now her frustration built, and then Keys just kept going with doing her thing and served out the set and won the first set. And then Sabalenka was able to come back. Yeah,
got
made
the second
some
one.
tactical adjustments.
Nice adjustments. Sort of dominated a bit more of the court.
Started moving her around a bit more.
Yeah.
A lot of drop shots.
And that didn't go to tiebreak, right? The second?
I think it was 6-2 or something. It was pretty dominant. 4-4, right? And she broke it at 5-4.
Yeah,
like that.
and it just felt like the ball wasn't dropping for Sabalenka in that third set.
Yeah.
Like, she just couldn't... The forehand just wasn't working for her. She just wasn't able to, generate the power to hit it over the net. Like, she just wasn't finding her...
She was playing a bit tentative. It felt like she was worried that if she uses her full power, it's going to go long. So she was pulling back, but then when you start pulling back, you start hitting the net.
Yeah.
So she was playing in her mind a bit, whereas Keys in that third set was just playing a bit more freer. I think that was the story for me. For some reason, Sabalenka started playing tight, which you wouldn't expect for someone who's gone for 3 in a row. You just think, I've been here, done that, just do what I've done before. I just really think Keys just took Sabalenka out of her comfort zone early, and in the second set, Sabalenka recovered. She was like, I've got nothing to lose, sort of played a bit more free. I've got to go get it. And then in the third set, when it was back in the balance, she sort of tightened up a little bit again.
I was worried for the opposite because I thought Madison might sort of tighten up.
That's what you'd expect.
Because I was like, okay, Sabalenka's come back here. And like, I thought Madison's probably going to tighten up a little bit and be like, okay, like I've got one more set here to try and get it done. But she just played freely.
She also just been in that flow state like the whole game.
Yeah.
Because as you said, when you're trying to win your first major, you can tell even Sinner in that last game, to serve it out, he was nervous, he was tight. You could hear the commentators saying, oh, he's losing his shape. Keys didn't really experience that. I think from the game 1 to the last game, she was just in her zone, knew what she wanted to do, and she was just going to leave it all out there. And it worked. I think there's definitely lessons to be taken in just sport in general, in the big games, about how to go after it. Is when you get in your own head and you try to act differently or keep some in reserve or try not to make mistakes, that's when you perform your worst in these big spots. Whereas when you go out there with the mindset of, I'm just going to leave everything out there. I'm going to do as well as I can, and if it doesn't pay off, it doesn't pay off, but I'm going to give it all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it won't work, but you saw with Keys that when it works, it really works. So
a lot of the time in those spots, when it's your day, and when it's not your day, it's not your day.
Yeah. So, look, great match. Credit to Keys, her first major win. She thinks she's like 29 or something, so good on her. Sabalenka, she'll be back. I mean, she's such a hard out on hard courts.
Loves the hard court.
So good on hard courts. I mean, she was smacking the racket after the match. You can just tell she felt
Don't doubt she might just bounce back at the US Open and then come back and probably take out the Oz Open again.
With her smacking a racket and all that, I think you just felt like she felt like she gave that one away. Like that she felt like she should have won that. She usually beats Keys, I'm sure, on hard court. Again, I'm just saying this. I don't know the records, but I've had to guess.
Yeah.
And I think she really feels like, I think that's going to sting a little bit because I think when you're the favourite, nothing hurts more than when you lose to someone you should beat. Yeah. Especially in a final like that. You work all that hard, you play all those games, you get to the final, and then you don't play your best tennis in that final game. It's just like, it's going to hurt. So she'll be back. She's like 25 or something.
100%. Nah, no doubt. So we had the upset on the Saturday, and then last night we had Sinner v Zverev.
Yeah, 3-0.
Absolute 3-0.
Look, you felt like that first set tiebreak was everything, right?
Had to be.
Everything.
Like they were just going...
game for game.
Really game for game. Holding their serve, and whoever was going to get that first break was just going to gain that momentum going into the match.
Sinner had a massive... game in the tiebreak. I think you got a bit lucky or hit the net like at 4-all or something to go to 5-4, and then he just went away with it ran away with it and took it to 7-4.
Yeah.
And Zverev, I mean, to his credit, he rallied pretty well in the second set. Like, it wasn't as if the second set was a blowout, but I think Sinner broke
That
him
went
on
to
that
a
4-4.
tiebreak.
Nah, he broke
Didn't
him
it?
on 4-4. It was similar to that Keys Sabalenka third set, where in the second set it was 4-all, and then Sinner was up 30-15 on Zverev's serve and had played an excellent point to go up 40-15, got the break and then served out the set. So it's like two really mentally difficult things to cope with for Zverev. One, losing the first set tiebreak against Sinner, who you know is a guy who's very difficult to sort of... He's so difficult to break Sinner. Like, a crazy stat in that game is Zverev did not have a single break point in the entire match. He did not have one chance to break Sinner's serve. I mean, that is wild.
Yeah.
As you said, it was a relatively close game. Like, it wasn't if Sinner was winning 6-1, 6-1, 6-love.
Nah.
It was a close game. First set went to a tiebreak. The second set was 6-4. I forgot what the third set was. But to not even give away one break point, it just shows that first set, you do not get many chances at all to beat Sinner and to break your serve. So when you lose that tiebreak, you're like, oh, man. And then you lose the second set by finally losing your serve at 4-all. You know, that's like the worst time to lose it, right? Because you just got to serve the one game out to win the set. It's just from that moment on, you just sort of knew that Sinner was going to win that. Like, the idea that Zverev's going to win the next three, Sinner would have had to really drop his levels. And to his credit, I mean, our friend Zach says that Sinner's a boring guy to watch.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually an attribute of his a little bit, that he's so balanced. He doesn't get too high, too low. He just keeps doing his thing.
It's clinical.
He doesn't, lose his head. He obviously gets nervous, but he doesn't get too emotionally up or down. So it allows him to really just play his game no matter what. And his game is so solid everywhere. He's got a great first serve. He's got a great return. He's obviously good on the forehand, good on the backhand, good at the net. He's just got no weaknesses, essentially. So, I mean, his net play could get a little better, but he's so solid everywhere else that he's just so difficult to beat. His forehand gets so much topspin, so it bounces up so high, so other players can't really get over the ball as much. He's a little boring to watch because he doesn't have that sort of excitement that these other players have, getting really into it and showing that emotion after points. But I think from Sinner's perspective, he's 22 and he's number one by a mile at the moment. The only guy who can beat him is Alcaraz. So once he learns how to beat Alcaraz, whatever Alcaraz's technique is, maybe it's just a bit more sort of aggressive style, but if he learns how to beat Alcaraz, I mean, essentially, I don't see anyone else being able to beat Sinner.
No, so Sinner's now 3 from 3 in these finals now, right?
Yeah, two Australian Opens, and what other one did he win?
Did he win the US?
I can't remember. I have no idea. I'm not as caught up on all the other majors, unfortunately, as I am the Aussie.
But no, he doesn't seem to there's not like a lot of questions around like his mental game or anything like that. He seems like a very confident player and stuff like that. But when you're talking about Zverev, he's the one that sort of had a bit of mental...
he gets anxious.
The
mental shakes. In the big spots, you do worry about him. Is he... and you said he sort of lost the big moments in this game. Previously, I've watched him in the Australian Open. He was up 2-0, I think, in the semi the year before against Medvedev and lost that set, that match in 5 sets.
Yeah, this was his third loss, right, in the major final?
Yeah, he just hasn't. I think it's his first time getting to the Australian Open final, and he just... Again, this is my perception. I obviously don't watch him on tour matches on every major he plays, but from when I've watched him in my sample size, in the big matches, he does tend to get the quibbles, and he gets asked to wobble a little bit in the big spots. So I think for him, he just needs to get the monkey off his back and win a major, prove to himself he can do it, and then hopefully...
Easier said than done.
Of course it is. And the first one's always the hardest.
Yeah.
So hopefully if he can win this first one, he can really start to push and believe in himself that he can win the big moments. And he'll be a force to reckon with because he's got such a great first serve.
Yeah, well, through the tournament when I was watching him, he seems clinical. Like he was playing so well. Like he wasn't dropping any silly sets against like the lower ranked.
He's very consistent.
Like he was very consistent. Sort of got it done within that 3-set mark. So yeah, I just hopefully later this year he can try and get back there in a final and hopefully come out on the winning side.
We've got to give him credit. I mean, he did win the tiebreak against Djokovic in that first set, right? Which was a big tiebreak, as we know. If Djokovic had won that tiebreak, probably would have kept playing. So, to win that tiebreak, we gave him. Said he lost the first tiebreak against Sinner and got a little nervous, but he won the tiebreak in the semi-final, so that was progress, and he made it to the final. Obviously, if that game unfolded, if Djokovic was healthy, don't know what would have happened.
Who knows what could happen?
Who knows what could happen? But maybe he's starting to get on top of it, and it's easy for us sitting here on the couch talking about his mental games. At the end of the day, he's playing in an Aussie Open final, 100%. So he clearly is still mentally strong enough to get there. I think he's got diabetes and stuff, so he's been through some stuff. So I root for him. I think he's got some. DV charges against him and all this sort of stuff that Paris was telling me about. But look, I don't know about
Seems
all
like
that
a
sort of
good
stuff.
guy.
Seems like a good guy. Obviously, it
Yeah.
could all be facade and, could have all these court cases, could be something real, or it could just be a complete hoax. Who knows? But we won't really get into that. But from what we see, he seems like a good dude. I root for him. I hope he does well. And every time he's at the Australian Open, he seems to always make it deep in the tournaments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's always in quarters, semis.
Yeah.
As you said, he's so consistent in the early rounds. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll be back. And Sinner, I mean, I'm sure by the time we see him next year in the Aussie Open, he won a couple more majors. Like, I can't see. I mean, I heard there's a decision coming out late mid-year about his drug ban that he might get suspended for a little bit. There's like
because he tested positive to the
there's a ruling coming out that he might get banned later in the year for a certain amount of time. I don't know how.
I think that's in April, right?
I don't know how it all
like
works with tennis and all that, but that could mean he misses 2 or 3 majors, so that could be big. But he's obviously, I think he'd be number 1 in the world by a fair way, even though Zverev obviously came second. Number 2 came, so he would have gained a few rankings.
There's a reason why they're 1 and 2 in the rankings. Those two.
I mean, Alcaraz. I mean, he's right there and thereabouts, but he doesn't have the consistency. He's either, if he wins a tournament, seems to win it pretty convincingly, but he's prone to a few bad games, especially the Aussie Open.
He was on top in that Djokovic game, and then the injury happened to Novak, and
Novak won that second set. It's like Alcaraz, I don't know if he thought he was going to win after that, and just couldn't believe that Djokovic was still playing. But he just, again, Alcaraz is young, and he shows his age a lot more than Sinner does. I think they're only like 1 year apart.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
Sinner, I mean, he looks like he's 10 years wiser than Alcaraz is.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Sinner's being able to stay number 1 and win majors, and why Alcaraz is sort of the more flashy young player coming through.
Yeah.
Sometimes wins a major and looks unbeatable, and the next time will play a major and loses a game he should win, right? So Zverev knocked Alcaraz out in a tournament last year. Zverev played some of the best tennis I've ever seen him play to knock Alcaraz out, but that was when Alcaraz came out and just, that first set, he literally couldn't hit a shot. Like, he was some of the worst tennis I've ever seen Alcaraz play. So Sinner and Alcaraz is probably going to be the rivalry moving forward for the next 5-10 years. And I mean, Zach doesn't like watching Sinner, but I honestly don't mind him. I like watching someone who's just sort of so mechanically great everywhere and just does his thing. I mean, he's going to be a very tough beat, Sinner.
100%. That's why they're at the top of the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, you don't face a single break point in a Grand Slam in a final. That's
pretty
high
clinical.
Level. That is. Talk about first serve percentage. His first serve is. He doesn't have the biggest serve, but he clearly is, 1, accurate, and 2, is great at the follow-up. Like, he's great at serving wide and then hitting to the other side of the court and just getting that. Yeah, so high-level stuff.
I mean, another Oz Open in the books.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Good Oz Open.
Yeah, there was plenty of upsets throughout the tournament.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of the big guns were there.
There's still a lot of the big guns
were
there.
Number 1 in both.
Sure.
Number 1 and 2 in the men's. You had number 1 in the women's there. Obviously, Keys was like 19th or something.
Keys was 19.
Upset, but the Swiatek number 2. I think Keys beat number 2.
Yeah.
And then beat number 1. So, look, Keys...
Crazy run.
Right,
Crazy run.
Yeah, what a run.
Yeah.
Obviously deserves the win. And Sinner just beat everyone he needed to. I mean, had that one wobble during the tournament where he was shaking mid-game, right, where he had ammonia or something like that. But was able to get through that, and then the rest of his games were at night. Lucky for him, and he was able to... Never really showed any more signs of issues. So, yeah, good tournament, and we always look forward to it. The Aussie Open, every time it comes out.
100%. I reckon let's go into some
Big Bash final
tonight.
Yeah.
Thunder v Hobart.
Yeah, in Hobart.
At Hobart.
Should be a good game. I mean, Thunder,
possibly a sellout, I'm guessing. Have to be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great out there. Public holiday. They sold out their semi-final. I mean, the stadium's going to be rocking. It's going to be you're not going to be able to get a standing spot. It's going to be unbelievable. Thunder led by Warner. We said in our last ep, his competitiveness, his will to win is off the charts. You can tell it's just permeating through the whole team. They will be up and about. They'll be high energy in the field. They will be...
He'll be getting his team ready.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be locked in. Yeah. Plenty of talk, plenty of mental battles. They'll be trying to win any way they can. And to be fair, on the other hand, the Hobart will be doing the same. Matthew Wade behind the stumps, loves a chat. The Hobart Hurricanes have an excellent bowling lineup. I'd say on the balance of teams, I'd say Hobart has a better team.
Yeah. As
we said in the Sixers Thunder preview, both those Sydney teams don't really have the power hitting that Hobart does. They have a lot more of the one-day test match format players, which can help you in a low-scoring game. But if this pitch is a bit of a road and it's 180, 190 pitch, I just worry that how many of the Thunder players are going to be able to have the strike rate to get their team to the 180, 190 pitch. Yeah. Now, if it comes down to this Hobart, it's like a 130, 140 pitch. Well, Thunder are well in the game then because they have those sort of the smarts. They have the Chris Green who can bowl those tough overs in the middle. Sanger, Tanveer Sanger who can bowl those spin. He's great in the middle overs.
If it comes down to that spin for the Thunder, like they're really into the chance.
They definitely have definitely have the edge on spin, I'd
Yeah.
say. Whereas Hobart have the edge in fast bowling.
Yeah.
So if it's a pitch that is a bit slow and favours the spinners, you have to give Thunder the edge. But if it's a fast-paced pitch, which, you know, is just great for batting, then Hurricanes 100% have the advantage because, you know, McDermott, Owen, Tim David, they'll be just smacking that ball out of the park. They have short boundaries, I'm pretty sure, in Hobart. So again, if it's a good batting pitch, the ball's going to be flying. And apart from Warner, off the top of my head, I don't really know too many players in the Thunder lineup that have a massive strike rate. They're a lot more of a balanced sort of long form team. You know, Billings, Davies, he might play or might not. He's in the squad. He didn't play the last game for the quad injury, but he's in the squad for this game. Davies, and he's probably their second best strike rate, and even he isn't really known for his massive hitting. So that'll be that for me is really the essence of this game, is what sort of pitch is it. And if it's a low scoring pitch, Thunder are right in it. It's going to be if it's one of those tough, grueling games where every moment in the field matters and it's about saving that run there, I think the Thunder easily could win. If it's a high-scoring game, I just don't think Thunder have the firepower to match the Hurricanes.
Nah, from my point of view, like, Hobart's definitely the more complete team. Like, their bowling attack's probably been the best in the competition this year for sure, with like Meredith, Ellis, and then like batting-wise, Owens.
Oh, he's been so good.
Owens, he's probably been one of the best in the competition this year. And we already spoke about Tim David. He's been clinical in the power surge this whole year. So,
the difference of his strike rate chasing versus batting first is ridiculous.
Really?
When he bats first, his average drops dramatically.
So he's a better chaser?
By far. Like, it's crazy, the stats. I saw the stat. It was unbelievable. So, again, if I'm the Hurricanes, I want to bowl first, bat second, let David come in late with the power surge. I think that would be the way. I think that's the perfect blueprint for the Hurricanes, because the Thunder, I know I keep harping on about it, but they don't have the massive strike rate, which means if they don't know what target to set, by the nature of their just natural batting style,
they'll be more attacking.
They will be more... they will just not be as attacking as they would if they knew they had to chase 180. Then they'd have to force their strike rate up. But if they bat first, they will sort of just play more to their natural style. And they say, for example, if it's a 170 pitch, they might just get 160, 150, right? And that Hurricanes, you'd think would be able to chase that down. So I think it's a massive toss to win in these finals. I think Thunder broke the record in the last game. But I think before that, in the last 7 or 8 finals matches in the BBL, the team chasing or batting, which one was it? I think the team batting first had won
in the last 7
I think so.
finals.
The whole stat obviously hinges on that point. I can't remember if it's the team that was batting first or batting second. But either way, there's a stat where the last 7 teams had won. I mean, Thunder broke the mold in the last game.
Yeah, wow.
So I think it was the team batting first at one, because I think it's like the psychological factor of knowing you need to chase in the big games. So I think there's a massive toss, and the pitch is going to play a major part. If I'm the Hurricanes, I would have been asking their ground staff to make it as flat as possible. Let Owen go out there and hit a 60 off 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just go
surely,
crazy.
right?
Because that's a big... I mean, Owen has essentially kickstarted all of their innings recently. He has, I can't remember the last time he got out cheaply. He's just been going bananas, hitting sixes.
Sets the tone and just absolutely puts their team in the best front foot forward for when that middle order's coming in, like the last 5-6 overs.
And he allows those next players to sort of slow it down a little bit, but not get too far behind the run rate, and then make sure you have enough wickets in the bank for David and stuff to get in late and to go crazy again. So typically their innings is crazy in the first 4 overs, slow it up for the 6 to 10, and then the back half, especially with the power surge, go crazy.
Bananas.
So if Thunder can get Owen out early, that would be massive, because then you expose that middle order a bit earlier. If you can get Tim David in around over 10, 11, especially if he's batting first. That's not where he's historically been very good. He's historically been good if he batting second, chasing in the power surge. That's like Tim David to a T. So there's a lot of things around this game that could be interesting. I think my money's on Hurricanes, just straight up, without knowing what the pitch is going to be like and all that. But the home crowd advantage, the energy, that'll be there. But I don't think you can never count out David Warner and his competitiveness, because he's going to have 100%. That team up and ready.
They went through the Stars first. They numbed the batting attack there with Stoinis and Maxwell.
How many wins in a row
they went to Sixers and numbed that batting attack. They
Sixers had beat them 7 in a row.
Yeah, so they had the wood over them and got through them. So I wouldn't be counting out this Thunder squad. I'm hoping for a real close match. 100%. But Hobart's definitely got the edge. But I think it's going to come down to the wire for sure.
It's a great point you make because, as I said, to beat the Stars, who were just on a win streak, they'd looked dominant the last few weeks. Maxwell had been unbeatable. They beat them.
Yeah.
Come against the Sixers at the SCG. I said it was like 7 games in a row. I think it was until years like that since the Thunder had beaten the Sixers, which is crazy because it's supposed to be the Sydney Derby.
Yeah.
And the Sixers have had the absolute wood over them. And they were to break that curse in a semi-final historically where Sixers have been really good.
Yeah.
So, as you said, Thunder have won 2 big games and you've got to be riding pretty high with momentum. And you've got to imagine that dressing room is going to be full of confidence. You know, they're going to be up and about, ready for this. Warner's going to be having them all up. They're going to
This is their first final, right? Thunder?
Ever?
I want to say so. I don't remember. I don't remember them being in one.
It's been around for a while, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, it should be, honestly, it should be a great watch. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion. Hobart at home. Thunder, led by an emotional character in Warner.
Yeah.
Definitely, even if they have been there before, it's a long time ago. So it's going to be their first final, if not ever, in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's going to, honestly, it should be hopefully a big bash final for the ages. I hope it's a good pitch. I hope it's a lot of sixes, a lot of runs, and I hope it's a good game.
For sure. I've been, like we were just speaking about, I've been against the Thunder those past matchups, and I'm against them again tonight. So who knows?
Yeah, no, you got to be in the Hurricanes. But I was surprised Hurricanes were until 60. I thought they'd be a bit shorter, being at home and that, but
so what? Thunder's
like
just over $2
or something. Yeah. I thought they shows the bookies have a bit of respect for Thunder and who they beat and what they're about. So I just hope it's with these big bash finals, it's so mental. Like you saw in that Renegades Stars game where the Stars just had the worst collapse of all time, right?
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Like I could easily see a world where the Hurricanes are chasing and get off to a mammoth start. Like Owen goes crazy, gets 80 off 40. They only need like 60 off 60 to end, and then all of a sudden the wickets just fall and it just collapses like that. The thing with cricket is, it's, as we always say, it's a mental game more than anything else.
It only takes one wicket to turn the tide, really.
And then all of a sudden the dressing room starts getting nervous, the home crowd starts getting real silent, and everyone's like, "Oh no, is this really happening?"
Yeah.
So there's so many different things that could be at play during this game, and may the best team win.
Yeah. One more thing, like if Thunder come out and hit up real early, that can suck the
life out of the
out of the stadium and the crowd, and that can then propel a team to
backfire on the Hurricanes having that crowd. But as you said, the flip side, if the Hurricanes get out and start smacking it,
and then
that
the
crowd is
they're
going to be on the Thunder's
it's
ass.
just a huge high. So
man, I can't remember.
Home field advantage is.
I think it's definitely the Hurricanes' first Big Bash final.
I think
it's definitely their first Big Bash final.
Maybe
at home.
Thunder's been there before, but maybe not for a while.
Hurricanes are having this at home. Think of the people at Hobart. I mean, the whole bloody city's going to stop. I mean, what an occasion for them, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. The whole city will be buzzing. I mean, it's a public holiday. It's just a perfect time and day. I hope the weather's great.
Yeah.
And it should just be a great occasion. Should be a great watch. I hope Ricky Ponting will probably on the Channel 7 commentaries, obviously from Hobart, so he'll be loving it. So,
for sure.
It should be a great night.
Go the Canes.
Yeah, go the Canes. Are you on the Canes? Like, you going to bet on them?
Nah,
just
probably
watch.
not.
Yeah,
No,
it's
just
hard to
watch
bet
it
a
and
big
enjoy
bash.
it. I might put something on Thunder just because they're
why
paying
not?
over the $2 odds.
Yeah.
We got the Australia to Sri Lanka starts on Wednesday.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to preview that or?
Nah, we don't have to.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about it, to be honest. Like, I haven't seen too much.
It's more because our spinners are still pretty much up in the air because Kuhneman got injured in the Big Bash.
That's right, yeah.
So he may or might not play. So it might be Lyon and Todd Murphy that probably start the first match, depending if Matt's ready to go.
Depends what fast bowls we play too. Like, our lineup's going to be... It's very hard to preview our game because...
They're still trying to figure out who's going to open.
Yeah, true.
Because they don't know whether they're going to play with Khawaja or... So then they'll pair him with Constas, or if they're going to move Head up the order.
Why would they not play Khawaja? Or drop him?
Well, possibly. They might drop Khawaja and play Head and Sam up top.
I think that... my personal opinion, I think their batting lineup will be pretty
Khawaja will most likely play.
I reckon it'll be the same lineup for the India match. I reckon Khawaja, Constas, Labuschagne, Smith.
Yeah,
Head.
I just think they like the form that Head brings in opening the batting overseas. So they think that can work well for them.
Has he done that in Test, though? Or is it just mostly one days and T20s he's been doing that?
No, he's done it in Test before. He's definitely done it in Test before. And then that opens up if they bring in Josh Inglis into the middle order as like a specialist batter.
Yeah, I guess. I don't. If I'm Australian, I just don't change batter.
Yeah.
Just keep the same.
So now it's still plenty of questions that need to be answered.
Because remember, Khawaja said he just got boomered in that India test. So let's see. If he comes out and gets a couple of ducks, well, then you can start putting the pressure on him, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe he did just get boomered.
And it was pretty fair to say they did get boomered, because we already touched on that. That was just...
I've watched a little bit of Sri Lanka's test matches. Like, I know a few of their players, but I don't know enough to predict like what their lineup's going to be. I think their team's pretty set. Like, I think Sri Lanka's a team that have a very similar lineup for all the formats. Like Nasanka and a lot of their players are very similar throughout. So they're going to be a tough beat at home. They seem like a
core group.
They've got a core group.
Yeah.
They play the game well. They're still growing and learning and sort of trying to become a top-tier test nation. Yeah. But they're not far away. They are capable of playing a really good match.
Yeah.
It's just, if Australia lets them get on top, it's going to be a tough series. I think if I'm Australia, I want to make sure I get early wickets, keep their batting down, and just keep their batting low on confidence. Because I think a lot of Australia's might in Test cricket is a lot about aura. But without our main fast bowlers playing, we could lose a bit of that. So if we let their Sri Lanka batters, especially in that first match, get up early and feel like they can get on top of our bowlers, it could be a really tough series.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if we can get some early wickets, really make these Sri Lankan batters second guess themselves, I think it could be a real dominant series for us. I think that's where the match will be won and lost between their batting and our bowling. I think that'll be the main.
We'll be able to touch on it in the next, because I think it'll be probably day 3 by the time we speak on it next and see what's happening.
It's a great ground there too. It's been a great watch. Hopefully it's good weather, and hopefully it's just a good 4 or 5 days of Test cricket.
Definitely.
It's 2 match series, right?
Two match series. Yeah. And then we head over to Lords for the
World Test Championship.
For the World Test Championship.
That's a while.
That's in June.
So I think IPL's before that. You can always talk about a bit of the IPL when that comes around. Sure.
Definitely, for sure.
All our lovely Indian viewers will want to touch on that.